So hello and welcome. My name is Obed and today I'll be introducing you to computers. And the first thing that we normally do when introducing ICT or computer packages is defining the terms that we shall be using. And actually the first term that I'll define today is the term computer. I want to make sure that you understand a computer before we even start using a computer. So what is a computer? So a computer is an electronic device that inputs, outputs, stores, and processes data to information. So that is a computer. And remember that a computer doesn't have to look like the computer that we used to. Do you know that your phone is a computer? Basically because it has these aspects that we talked about. Because I told you a computer is a device that inputs, it outputs, it stores, and it also processes data to information. Any device that does that is a computer. So that is why we defined the term computer so that you can understand. Because have you ever noticed that you go to a mechanic and they tell you that your motor vehicle has a computer? Yeah? Do you know that most of the gadgets that we normally use, even the televisions that we have in the house, do you know they are computers? Basically because they have the aspects of inputting, outputting, storing, and processing. Now, let's define the next term. I want to define the term data. We want to understand what is data because we normally say that a computer receives data, a computer processes data. So what is data? So data, they are normally the symbols or the signals inputted into the computer system through input devices. And the purpose of having data is to process data to something usable. Actually, data is usually electronic in form. Remember, the human being cannot interpret electronic data or electronic information. So that is why we have data being the raw facts fed into the computer system. And a very good example is, or a good analogy, for example, when a carpenter wants to make a table, so there is the raw materials they normally need in order to come up with a table. They'll bring together nails, they'll come together with wood, and then from there they would be required to refine and put all those things together in order to get an end product at the end. Now, in a computer system, this is usually the same scenario. So data is basically used to construct something or an end product that is now usable. And that is where we have the next term that I'll define being information. What is information in a computer? Information is data or data that has been processed or analyzed and transformed to something usable. In a layman's language, we normally say that information is data that has been changed from a computer readable form to human readable or understandable form. Remember, a human being has 5 senses. That is, we have the sense of sight, we have the sense of touch, the sense of smell, the sense of sight, the sense of hearing. So you find out that when the computer takes in data that is electronic in nature, it must convert it in something that the human being can perceive. That is, for example, something that we can see. For instance, what I have on my hand here, this is a book. And this book has something written here. Because my senses of sight can see this and it can make some sense out of this. So what I call this that I have on the book here, this is information. But when it was being inputted into the computer system, probably through a keyboard, somebody was pressing a button and then those electronic signals went through the cabling of the computer system to the central processing unit for processing. And then finally, we got this final output, final product that we can now perceive with our eyes and make sense out of it. So this is what we call information. Another scenario is when you are listening to music. Let's assume you have music in a memory card. Music in the memory card is electronic in nature. There is no way you can perceive that. basically because a human being doesn't have any slot we can insert a memory card and perceive whatever is inside the memory card. But you normally insert that memory card into the computer. Now the computer transforms that data, that electronic raw fact, into something that you can now hear, something you can watch. So we normally say that that music that you're now listening and perceiving using your senses of hearing is what we call information. And what you're watching on the screen that you can perceive with your senses of sight is what we call information also. Now, processing being the next term is basically the act of changing data to information. That is, whenever you transform the electronic raw facts into perceivable facts, we say that what you did is that you processed. And that is why we say that a computer is an electronic device that processes data to information. And I hope that is very clear. So you should be able to follow the definitions I'll be putting on the screen. But now for the purpose of explanation, that is why I have to slightly go out and give more vivid and clear explanations so that you can visualize what I'm talking about in your mind. The next term that I want to define the term computer software. So what is a software? A software is basically a program. And we normally say that in simple terms, as software, they are the intangible components of a computer system. The intangible, the non-physical. Like for example, right here on my computer here, I have a software that is displaying the manual that I'm using as my guide. Now, what you see on the screen is basically a software. It's an intangible component. And even if you tried touching this, even if my computer is a touchscreen computer, you won't actually be touching the program. You'll just be touching the screen, and then the program would be responding to your touches. So a software is basically any program that you have in your computer, and it's basically intangible or non-physical in nature. The opposite of soft is hard, and that is why we have the next term being hardware. That is, we have software and then we have hardware. Now, let me define what is a hardware. A hardware, on computer hardware, they're the physical components of a computer system. The physical, basically the components that you can touch. For example, we have the mouse. I'll display it on the screen so that you can see it. We have the mouse. Number 2, we have the keyboard. Number 3, we have the monitor or the screen. We have the monitor or the screen. And number 4, we have things like speakers. We have printers. Yeah, all those are computer hardware, basically the physical components of a computer. Just to introduce something extra, have you ever heard about soft copy and hard copy? Maybe you're doing a job application, and then on the job description, they say that the applications should be submitted in soft copy. Soft, what does that mean? It basically means that your application documents must be in a non-physical form. Basically, the applications must be sent probably via email, via WhatsApp, or any other electronic means. But now you will see others say that in this application, make sure that you submit the hard copies of your application documents. From the term hardware, physical. So you hear about hard copy. It basically means you should submit the physical documents on paper. And that should be probably through the post or mail, or submitted physically to the office. So I just said that in relation to computer software and computer hardware. So we're moving on. Now, what is a computer program? A computer program is a set of instructions that tells a computer system what to do. The computer system is program oriented. So it's normally instructed using the various programs that we have installed in our computer. We have the next term, and the next term is the term programmer. A programmer is a person, and it is a person who codes and designs computer programs. Like in one of our courses, we'll be having programming courses. We'll basically be teaching you how to design computer programs. At the end of the day, you'll basically start calling yourself a computer programmer. The next term that I want to define is the term network. So what is a computer network? A network is a number of computers connected together. So whenever you connect 2 or 3 computers together, you basically form a computer network. Like for example, in your home, you could be having a Wi-Fi network. And in your home, let's make the assumption you have your own computer. Your brother has a computer, your sister has a computer, and then you're all connected to that one Wi-Fi network. You're basically sharing that Wi-Fi internet. So at the end of the day, what we say is that in your home, you have a computer network. You have got computer systems connected together. Then the next term that I want to introduce is the term hacker. We are almost done with the definition of terms. So, and before I move further, so just make sure that if you're learning something and gaining something, please like this video. And in case you have any questions, make sure that you post your question on the comment section. I'll be able to make another video answering the questions that you'll be asking. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. That is the only support you can give Obex Online Academy so that we can continue producing videos like this. And again, when you subscribe, make sure that you tap the bell and notification icon so that anytime I post a new video, you'll be among the first people to get notified. Okay, with that said, now let's move on. So we have the term hacker. Hacker. We normally hear people say, my phone has been hacked, my email address has been hacked, my Facebook account has been hacked. So what is hacking exactly? So hacking refers to the ability to be able to access protected systems without necessarily requiring the protection or access. Like for example, your email address is protected with a password. If somebody can access it without the password, without you offering the password, then it means that they used another means. And that is what we call hacking. So hackers are basically people who have got the skills that can allow them to access protected systems even without necessarily you providing the access codes. And hacking is both ethical and non-ethical. So the reason behind hacking actually makes hacking ethical or non-ethical. And that is why we have black hat hackers who actually hack with negative and malicious intentions. And we have white hat hackers who basically hack with quite some positive or some genuine reasons. Like, for example, if you happen to forget the password of your computer, do you know I could use some hacking skills to be able to access your computer and reset the password for you? Is that positive or negative? And I could still use the same skills to access protected files in your computer with some malicious intent. Maybe there is information that I'm not supposed to access, but I'm accessing it using the same skills. So all that is hacking, but it's recommended even if you have to learn hacking, make sure that it's ethical hacking. It's the hacking skills that help us humanity instead of doing some malicious things. Now, the last thing that I want to define is the term port. So what is a port on a computer? A port is the connection on the computer case that allows you to connect external devices to your computer. Even a mobile phone being a computer, it basically has got ports. Like for example, mine has a USB port that allows me to charge and maybe connect it to a computer system when I'm transferring files. We have another audio port. So any connection that allows you to connect external devices to your computer, we call that connection a port. So during the next lesson, make sure that you follow the next video, because during the next video, I'll be illustrating and showing you all the ports behind a computer system and what you should connect to them. So make sure that you follow that next tutorial, because there I'll really be teaching you amazing stuff, and it will make you a computer pro in a way, because you don't buy a computer system and then you have all the things put in a box connected together. You'll basically have the monitor separated, you'll have the mouse separated, you have the speaker separated, and then once you get into your house, you have to connect each and every component to the appropriate port. I'll be teaching you this in the next lesson. So for any questions, don't forget to post them in the comment section. I'll be able to address them. For registrations, make sure that you visit www.obexictcenter.com and you can register there. in case you want to follow up and get certification at the end of the course. Because what I do at the end of each and every lesson, we have got questions. Once you answer those questions, they'll actually be recorded and used to determine whether you should be able to get a certificate at the end of the course once you reach the pass marks. Thank you so much. I was your teacher, Obed.
Yeah, Obex online niko tayari, kwa simu yako ama kompyuta, ka nyumbani au kwa cyber, tunasema elimu sio barrier.